3, 4. 28th October 2019, Monday, 6:35 p.m. Usually I start with the same questions.
Okay.
What brings you to Latvia? What are your impressions?
Okay. Actually, I'm doing a Baltic tour right now. So I was in Vilnius, now I'm in Riga, and I'll be going to Tallinn. So Riga is just like one stop, and so far I came yesterday, and I think it's really beautiful. I love the architecture. I think the architecture is amazing, and it also has canals, which I love so much. I love canals so much, and that's why I like Amsterdam. So I really like it, and the art is beautiful. I tried some of the cuisine too. The solyanka soup.
Oh, that's a sort of a Russian
Really?
soup, yeah.
Okay. The other one was the dumplings. I think pelinai or something.
Pelmen, yes.
Yeah, that one too. That was very good. And the rye bread, I liked it. Yeah, so.
And did you hear anything about Latvia beforehand, or you just decided, yeah, it's on the way?
Actually, I've not known so much about Latvia. I just knew about Riga, like it's been the capital. Then when I was, and I know it's part of the Baltic states, but I didn't know so much about it, the history or the culture, not much. So I was like, I want to come and experience it firsthand. Yeah.
How did you end up in Poland?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm studying in, the city is close to Warsaw, like 2.5, Białystok. So I'm doing like an exchange program there right now. Yeah, so that's how I ended up there.
But did you want to go to Poland? Because it sounds rather exotic, right? To come from Nigeria to Poland.
Actually, it was.
I would have understood America. I would have understood some, I don't know, Great Britain, maybe. But just Poland, yeah, because you like sausages or what?
No, someone recommended it to me, and he has been there before, so he recommended it to me, and he was like, it's good, the weather is nice, which I don't believe anymore because it's pretty cold there.
That's what I wanted to say. Yeah. Compared to what? Nice.
Compared to Nigeria, it's very cold.
That's what I mean.
But this summer, this winter, so far it's not so cold. It's like
hey, it's still not winter.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's not winter yet, but my lecturer said it's usually colder than this in autumn. And
Maybe.
I was just wearing this like last week there, and it's even colder in Riga right now. Maybe because it's windy.
Brace yourself if you're going to Tallinn.
But I don't know, is Riga more windy than Tallinn?
I wouldn't say so, because Tallinn is more up north, and I think it has a bigger sea shore.
Oh, okay.
I think so, because it's right at the Baltic Sea.
Yeah.
And across is Helsinki, so
yeah,
that always gets cold.
Yeah, it's pretty windy here, because yesterday the weather was rainy. Today the weather was pretty good, but it was also very cold. I was thinking the sun is out, but it's not going to be so cold, but it was pretty cold too.
Trust me, it's normal end of October weather. Yeah, so there you go.
Wow.
How long do you plan to study in Poland?
2 semesters.
It should be a year?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What do you study?
Electrical engineering.
I would have never guessed.
Why?
I would imagine you would be more into some social sciences.
Yeah, a lot of women are joining STEM, or there's a lot of awareness about STEM right now, which is statistics and mathematical stuff and engineering. So I'm really interested in engineering, and I'm really interested in other girls joining engineering, especially African girls. There are not so many African girls that are into engineering.
Because it's boring, let's be honest.
I don't think it's boring. I think it's very interesting, because engineering is about solving problems, human problems, and everything that we have right now to make life easier is because of engineering. So that is interesting.
That's true. All designers as well. But do you think really it's about solving human problems? Mostly it's, I think, related to technical business problems, right? So if a manufacturer needs something done, they have to develop a certain process to actually do it, and then the engineers come in and say, oh yeah, we might try this one.
Yeah, but the end of the chain is still consumers, and when producing stuff,
All right.
we still have to put the consumers. Actually, the consumers are the first priority because they are the ones that are going to buy the product. If the product is not good, the engineers will run out of business, and
Do you have a sense of where you might work after you finish?
yes, I want to work in a car company, either Mercedes or Tesla,
Because
I like
you just like the luxury brands.
no, not that. I love cars, and I want to work in a car industry as an electrical engineer, and Mercedes is very good. Tesla, maybe because of their innovations, like in the car sector, Tesla is still like the ones that are very innovative, and they're also putting it in robotics in cars, and I'm interested in robotics. So I'm interested in both robotics and the car industry, and I think Tesla is a combination of both of them. So Tesla is actually my first option. Yeah.
It sounds like you are into many things that a stereotypical guy would be into.
Yeah, because actually now the world is changing. In the past, a lot of women didn't have the opportunity for education, or a lot of women were stereotyped to be into some particular fields or to be caretakers and all that. And I want to break all those stereotypes.
You mean specifically you want to break them, or you're just not?
No, I love it.
You're just not the stereotype.
Yeah, I'm not those stereotypes. I enjoy the engineering. I want to do these things. I want to work in Tesla, and it looks like something that is not achievable, or it's difficult for females, and I love challenges a lot. So.
I would guess it's rather not if they just hire people, right?
Yeah.
For that particular vacancy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in my opinion, I think a lot of stereotypes are being broken by women nowadays. So.
Well, I mean, I don't mean it as a generalization. I just mean a stereotype of being interested in particular fields, right? Because usually it's more boring for I don't know, let's say the general population to get into the details of a mechanism, for instance, right? It's just, for me, it would be boring, right? And if you say that you are sort of interested, it makes me curious. What happened? How that came about?
Yeah, everybody has different interests. Like I was watching a movie about females that were into space science, like in the past. So you can imagine in those days where a lot of people still believe that women should be in the kitchen cooking. Some women were.
You mean the 20th century, or which?
Like 19th century. In fact,
till
now, 21st century, there are still communities that still believe that women should be in the kitchen.
Which would be probably most of the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because it's a funny thing, because the Western societies, and actually even a little bit of the Eastern societies, they have been fairly equal for the at least past half century, right? But it's not for most of the world.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So.
Don't get me wrong, I have heard of Nigeria. I couldn't point you on a map, right?
Okay.
So just let me take a guess. Somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, very close to the middle.
Cool. Yours. That's enough for me.
Somewhere? No.
No. Because I know where Egypt is. I know where South Africa is.
Okay.
That's about it.
Somewhere in the middle.
That's about
towards the west.
Towards the west?
Yeah. It's not central because there's Central African Republic.
All right.
Yeah, but a bit towards the west. Yeah, that's Nigeria.
I think there was some interesting facts about Nigeria. I'm just not really. It wasn't the one state just made up, right? That was Liberia.
Oh
right?
No, that was Liberia.
Yeah. But I think something about Nigeria was something related to America, but I'm not sure what. Or maybe I'm confusing something.
No, I think it's more like Liberia. Liberia is very linked to America.
Yeah, that was the one just made up state, right?
Yeah.
But so what's the history of Nigeria? How come? Because I think a lot of Nigerian immigrants go to America, right?
Immigrants as per colonial times or now?
No, nowadays.
Yeah, to America or to some part of Europe, mostly UK, because of the colonialism.
So Nigeria was related to Great Britain?
Yeah. That's why the official language is English.
All right, yeah, makes sense. Do you drink tea as well?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, in that old fancy type of British way.
Oh, it's the composition of our tea is a bit similar.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it was dropping.
Yeah.
Okay. The composition of the tea is pretty similar because I've drunk tea from other parts of the world, and it's like plain tea, but the chocolate mix. That's
chocolate mix?
Yeah, it's like chocolate, like cocoa.
You mean for tea?
Yeah, and
no,
milk.
I don't.
Yeah.
Wait a second. You are dropping chocolate into the tea?
No,
what?
It's like chocolate. It's cocoa.
Oh, it's like a flavor.
Yeah, exactly. It's cocoa powder.
Okay.
With sugar.
Oh, it's
and
just
milk.
that. What do they call it? Like a chocolate shake or something like that.
It's exactly, but the hot form.
But the what form?
Hot.
Yeah. What was it called? Yeah, I know what you mean. That Nesquik.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like Nesquik and milk and sugar. That's the tea.
Well, that's not a tea at all, right?
That's our tea.
Well, you should just call it what's it called? Well, Nesquik is just a brand. Let me just see. What's the real word? Because it's mentioned in American movies. Drink mix.
Yeah, you see, chocolate flavored milk.
Yeah, because putting chocolate will be probably too expensive.
Yeah, they put in cocoa powder.
It doesn't really say how to call it, right? Whatever, chocolate drink. You have your chocolate drink.
No, it's tea.
it doesn't come close to tea. So what else about Nigeria that might be interesting?
I think the culture is very interesting because the culture is very diverse, and we have over 200 million people. The population is like the seventh most populous country in the world.
200 million people, yeah, that would be what compared to probably Russia.
Yeah.
Right, they have 180 or something like that.
Yeah, but Russia has a very much larger landscape. Yeah, so, and we have over 500 languages, which is the second highest.
What?
Over 500 languages. It's the second largest.
I'm just being honest, that's too silly.
No, it's
stick
not.
Stick with 2 or 3 and you go.
No, we have 3 major languages. We have Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo. These are the 3 major languages.
And no English?
English is the official language. But
the only official?
Yeah, the only official language.
Yeah. Nice move.
Yeah, so in that way, we can communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can meet another Nigerian from a different part of Nigeria and not be able to communicate in a local language. I have to speak English with the person.
Yeah.
Because that's the official language. Yeah, so because of that, there is a lot of diversity in our cultures. Like the food we eat is totally different. Like I'm from the Yoruba side, and the meals we eat is totally different from those from Igbo side or Hausa side or the other parts of Nigeria. So that's very interesting. So I feel I like it because when you compare it to other parts of the world, like if you go to, for example, Latvia, most people have a common dish that you can call like Latvian cuisine. But
I would say more Eastern European.
Okay.
Because you go to Lithuania, you'll see basically the same. You go to
Poland, exactly. I was in Lithuania, and some of the meals were the same. Like, yeah. So like for us, there is Nigerian cuisine, but it's made of different segments. You can't just say this is Nigerian cuisine. You have to specify Igbo or Hausa or Yoruba and stuff like that.
And if I would go across the border, they wouldn't recognize it?
They will. It's just that they most likely would not eat it.
But they would still call it Nigerian cuisine?
Yeah, yeah. But it might be more difficult for you to find it there.
So how much different could it be? You probably eat some animals, right?
Yeah.
Chickens and some beef.
No, the preparations are totally different. The ingredients are most times similar, but the preparation is different. For example, we eat like there's this solid. Do you know yam? Yam.
Like yam, like sweet potato?
Yeah, like sweet potatoes. We have different ways of preparing, like 4 or 5 different ways to prepare that.
Alright, still yam.
Yeah, it's still yam, but that same yam will be prepared differently by another tribe, for example, to give something different. So the ingredients might be the same, but the preparation is different and the product is different. Yeah.
It's still yam.
It's still yam, but tastes different.
All right, yeah, you can add just more pepper or salt, right? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like yam, you can boil it, you can fry it, you can roast it. Yeah, and it still tastes different. There's this stuff, you can make it into yam powder. We make yam powder too, and then make solid out of it.
Sounds very laborious.
Yeah. The yam one especially, because there's something we call pounded yam, whereby you have to boil the yam and make it soft, and you have to pound it with a mortar and pestle, and it requires a specific technique. Like not just anybody can do it. Even I can't do it, because it requires a specific technique for you to be able to pound it well.
To just turn it into mush.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a lot of energy.
And otherwise the mush won't be the
tasty.
Correct type of mush.
Exactly.
All right, why not?
Yeah, so you see.
So how's it going for you in Nigeria? Because I don't know anything about it. I think one UFC champion is from Nigeria. Other than that, I don't know anybody from Nigeria and what it's like.
I think when it comes to football and music, Nigeria is like the most popular in Africa. Like when you talk about African music, Nigerian music is number one.
Is Nigeria the most like successful country in Africa?
I think we compete with South Africa. It's like 1 and 2 all time. Yeah, so our major competition is South Africa when it comes to the strongest economy in Africa. Yeah. All right. But we have crude oil. That is the major. Our GDP is mostly from crude oil. We export crude oil, and we're part of the.
By the way, have you gotten ever an email from the Nigerian prince? For money?
Yes, several times.
Yeah.
It always goes to the spam part of my of my email. Yeah, I've gotten that.
Yeah. Do you have royalty?
Actually, we do have royalty, like in different clans.
Well, but
in different tribes.
That's not for the whole country, then, right? You don't have like the. Wait a second. If Nigeria was colonial, it would mean that they had some allegiance to the queen, right?
Yeah. But we still have traditional African religion.
Religion?
Traditional African religion that people still practice.
But that wouldn't be related to the royalty, right?
It is, because each clan has kings.
Okay.
And kings and queens and princesses and princes, stuff like that. Yeah. And like every state can have more than 2 or 3 kings in each state that is governing the religious part of the state.
Religious.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
But not the political?
Sometimes they're involved in politics when it comes to elections, because politicians use them to talk to the local community, because they're more connected to the local community, and people respect them.
And they're like Instagram influencers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not everyone. The scam emails about princes and princesses, prince and princesses is no. It has nothing to do with the royalty in Nigeria.
But do those scammers come from Nigeria? I always wondered whether or not they really come from Nigeria.
Actually, that's one of the major problems we're facing right now. Internet crime. And
internet crime?
Yeah.
What's that?
Internet crime is like fraud? Internet fraud. Sorry.
Like identity
internet
theft?
fraud. Identity theft and fraud basically. Internet fraud. And that's one of the major things we're facing right now, because the government is trying to curb it with the help of the police. Like they set up a particular police unit called SARS, and they're the ones trying to curb this and arrest people that are involved in this kind of criminal activities. I don't really know if it's working or not. If it's curbing it, I don't know. Yeah, but that's what I know the government is doing about it. Yeah.
So other than the internet fraud, you would say Nigeria is pretty similar to Europe?
In terms of?
Economy, politics, society?
Yeah, pretty much. But of course, we're Africans and we have our own culture, which is, in my opinion, rich and...
Well, I mean, you probably have the same type of everyday work habits.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else. Basically, the routines are similar.
Yeah, basically. It's just like any other economy where you have the working class and those the politicians and everything, because it's a democratic system where we have the president and the vice president and senators and stuff like that.
Do you like them?
Oh, no.
How come?
I'm not really involved in politics.
But it sounds like you should. Because you are so counter-stereotype. Why not just become the president of Nigeria?
Yeah, that is possible. I can be the president of Nigeria in the near future. I'm not saying that is not possible. I'm just saying I don't like the politics of Nigeria.
Until you get there, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Did they do anything bad up till now? Or didn't they do anything?
No, I think it's a matter of it's not about the present politicians. I think it's about the whole... I don't have any hate towards a specific politician, but I think it's just about the whole political environment or political scene of Nigeria, because over the years we've been struggling with corruption. So it's
You mean like real corruption or just perceived corruption?
Real corruption.
Because I think in all the countries there always is the cloak of corruption surrounding politics, right? And it's just a matter of whether it's real, I mean tangible, or it's just every politician is corrupt, basically.
Exactly.
That's
every politician is corrupt, and the truth is that even European countries, like, the politicians are also very corrupt. But the difference is,
But is it corruption if it's legal?
Corruption is not legal.
No. But here's the thing. Usually when it comes to corruptive schemes, it's more related to lobbying, right, than anything else. But lobbying is legal. See what I mean?
But embezzlement is not legal. So I'm talking about embezzlement of funds.
Proven embezzlement or just assumed embezzlement?
Of course, it's not going to be...
Did they went to trial and...
Some have been proven, and some are just speculations. But like when a government is out of seat, and a new government comes, to make the other governments, the past governments, look bad and stuff like that, they use a corporation we call EFCC to hunt down people of the last government and check their Yeah, and check how much they've embezzled and things like that. But
every time the government changes?
most times. No, it
Sounds
changes.
so weird.
It changes. The government might change every 4 years. Every
After
4 years we
elections,
have
right?
elections,
Mhm.
yeah, but sometimes it's the same party that is being
Here's
re-elected.
here's the thing I don't understand. Usually, when it comes to colonial societies, the local rules were made up by foreign powers, right?
Mhm.
Once colonialism ends, why not switch to local rules from local powers? I don't understand, because a lot of places where there was colonialism, they still attached to some political restrictions or conditions that were made up by somebody else, not them. So basically, you are governing your life by somebody else's opinions, which is quite strange, right? Because nowadays Nigerians wouldn't be able to say, no, we get our rules from Britain, right? It's not possible. We make up our own rules, right? And yet still we continue to live similarly as with this previous system.
Yeah, that's why I was reading in the news that Rwanda abolished a lot of colonial rules. But one thing we should not forget is that there is a word being sovereign, but it's not practical. A lot of countries claim sovereignty, but it's not practical because there is still a lot of influence of other countries. For example, Latvia is a sovereign country, but there's still a lot of Russian influence, there's still a lot of German influence, and you cannot totally erase the past from the present because the past leads us to the present. So when it comes to colonial rules and things like that, we cannot erase the whole colonialism from the history of Nigeria.
Well, that's what I mean. You can actually take only the things that work for
Exactly.
you, right?
But it will take both the government, the Nigerian government, and also the superpowers to want to do
What
it.
you mean superpowers?
Superpowers are including some countries in Europe and America and probably Russia, China. I mean, countries that are controlling the economy of Nigeria.
What?
The economy of any country is not totally controlled by
What do you mean
government.
by other countries controlling the economy of Nigeria?
Yeah, for example, we have crude oil, and
So which means you the benefactor of selling that oil. Nobody else owns that oil. It's Nigerian oil, right?
it's Nigerian oil,
Huh?
but we do not have refineries to refine them. So
But you can build them, right?
we can build them, but they would not allow it to be built.
Who?
I'm talking about the superpowers. For
Ooh.
example, think about this. I have bread, for example, and I need maybe a car to take this bread to the town.
Okay.
But you have a car.
Yeah.
I don't have one. So I give it to you. I sell it to you,
The bread.
the bread, and you go to town with your car to sell this bread.
Hmm?
And you benefit from that. You make money from that. That is your livelihood.
Sure, I'm the intermediary.
Exactly. So whether you like it or not, you would never want me to have a car. Because the moment I have a car, you would not be useful anymore.
I might not be interested in you having a car, but once you get a car, I wouldn't be the one who's slashing your tires.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is, if I have a car, you would not be important anymore,
Yeah.
and your means of livelihood would be gone.
All right.
Yes.
Isn't it the same as saying that the doctors are interested in people getting ill?
Exactly, something like that. Because
But
if people don't get ill, what are doctors for?
Yeah, but that's the question. How much do you influence other people's behavior just because you benefit from their misguided behavior or their unfavorable conditions?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And that brings me back to what I was saying about crude oil.
Okay.
We have crude oil. We don't have refineries. We export this crude oil.
But Nigeria probably has some billionaires, right?
Yeah, the richest African billionaire is Nigerian.
Ooh, and he's in the oil business?
Yeah, he's into agriculture too. Agriculture and oil, yeah. Nigeria has the highest number of billionaires in Africa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, which would mean still you're good to go.
Yeah, but we cannot remove the poverty gap. There are the extremely rich and there are the extremely poor. So even if a country has billionaires but the economy is not good enough for an average person, or an average person cannot afford basic amenities, then what is the point really?
So you wouldn't be a representation of a regular Nigerian?
I don't think so.
You're upper class.
I won't say so, but yeah, I'm not.
Well, to study abroad is something unusual, would you say?
No, it's not. In Nigeria, especially the northern part, most people study abroad. Yeah. Some parts of the southern part too. Yeah. Like, most of my friends abroad are studying in UK or America. Actually, Nigerians prefer to study in America or in UK. I don't know why.
Well, because those are the most preferred systems.
Yes,
in general.
exactly. So
most prospects.
Yeah, so that's where most.
It's not Poland. It's definitely not Poland.
No, definitely not Poland. Definitely not Poland. It's mostly UK and maybe Germany too, but not so much. But it's mostly UK and America. That's where people flood to.
Yeah. Well, if you say that you want to work for Tesla, sounds like you would be planning to go to the US.
Yeah. Let's see how it goes.
How much do you still have to finish your studies? 3?
2.
2.
Yeah.
And then you'll be what?
I'll be ready for the
what will be your profession?
Electrical engineer.
Electrical engineer.
Yeah.
Sounds very broad.
Yeah, it does.
You can work on cars and you can work on, I don't know, anything else besides
anything
cars?
else, yeah. Anything else, like I can work in like electromagnetism and image signaling or automation. Yeah, it's just that I prefer cars. Or I can do research. Anything basically work with planes or something, yeah. But I just prefer cars.
Would you say that Nigeria is somewhere in what would you call it? So somewhere in a reform period? Because I guess you have the same, let's say, technologies as Western Europe, for instance, right? Which changes society quite a lot.
In terms of technology, I still feel we don't have so much, and we really have to improve when it comes to technology.
What's the, let's say, internet coverage? More than 50%?
Yeah, more than 50%. There is internet coverage, but also when it comes to MPS.
What's that?
Like you might have internet, but it's not moving so fast.
Why is it called MPS?
Like,
is it some slang?
Megabytes per second or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah. So you might have internet, but you can just use it for a short time before 2 gigabytes is finished, or it's very slow in some particular places, for example. So like, I don't want to specifically call a company, but like you can have a SIM card, buy internet on it, and you can only access good internet in some particular parts of the state, because that's where there is like access to the strong stuff. And when you go to some parts of the states, you can't really access it, or it's super slow. So I don't really call that, like, I don't call that advancement in technology.
It sounds a bit like Germany, because they have many places, at least it used to be, I don't know nowadays, but they had many places internet. But first of all, you had to pay for any small thing, and secondly, the coverage was there, but it wasn't as strong as it should be. And so the feeling was that it's just a sort of a closed economy. So a few companies just regulate within themselves the tariffs, and which is not really favorable to the consumer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well then, I guess then that's one stronghold to conquer.
Yeah.
Because I remember in Germany it was the case that they had almost a revolution when they received the European Court decision that their train system was too big of a monopoly on transportation. So they had to actually allow intercity buses, which is something common here, for instance, but for them it was something very new, because before that the Deutsche Bahn was the one regulating the traffic basically. And so it sounds like a bit like that in Nigeria as well then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. I don't know what to ask about Nigeria, to be honest. It just seems, I guess Nigeria would be a big country in population as well as geography.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of different natural sightseeing options, I guess.
Yeah, when it comes to sightseeing, like we're still really trying to improve our tourism, because when it comes to Africa, most people don't consider Nigeria as a tourist option.
It's not the place where you go to the safari, right?
No, that's Kenya and South Africa. Yeah.
Which is the constant war zone? Congo?
I think that should be maybe Somalia or something. I'm not sure of Congo. No, I'm not sure of Congo. But I know Somalia was having some issues, security issues. Yeah.
Well, sure. I think wasn't it the case that almost half of African countries had civil war in the past 20 years, like Sierra Leone and different types of states where they just cannot basically decide who gets to run things, so they kill each other.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's when it comes to the issue of wars, we know that wars are planned and it's not a one-day thing. Wars are planned and it continues to happen, and it looks like every country is going to experience war at one point or the other. So I believe it's just a way of rotating the table. But when it comes to wars, I think we've not really had so much when we compare it to World War I or World War II. We're not even close to that. So those ones were like massive wars and Holocaust, and it was crazy.
When was Nigeria founded?
1914.
Before the war.
Yeah, before the war.
That's interesting.
So for World War I or World War II, we're not even involved. But I think every country has experienced war at one point in time in history.
Between tribes and local communities, sure.
Exactly.
But I think when it came to, what was it? Maybe it was even Liberia, Congo, or Liberia, and all those places where they made movies about. Right? They had massive civil wars, right?
Yeah.
Unrests and and Rwanda as well, right?
Yeah, Rwanda too.
Yeah. Because they had those child soldiers. I think that was one of the biggest issues.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think that's also related to any foreign interference?
Yeah, like I said, like wars are planned, and it's mostly by foreign bodies, because when it comes to supplying arms and causing confusion, it's foreign bodies that always causes that. Like there are several cases where French or UK has supplied arms to both sides of conflicting tribes.
They probably just want to make money.
No,
right?
they want to. No, they want to make money, but they also want to cause unrest, because look at the case happening in Syria right now.
I don't understand the situation there, because Syria was a hotbed even 100 years ago, and the same was with Iraq. Same with Afghanistan as well.
Yeah, but
that place has been in unrest for at least 150 years.
yeah, but is it caused by just Syrians?
No, it's usually related to British.
It's not just British. There are a lot of
The British are gangsters.
Yeah, but there are a lot of countries that have formed like camps in Syria. Just recently, America pulled out, but a lot of countries, like 4 or 5 or more countries, are involved in Syrian war. And why is that happening? Because Syria has oil, and they know they will benefit from the oil as long as Syria has war.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same thing that happens with every other war. These countries are not just providing arms to both sides because they want them to fight and kill each other. It's not enough. But when there is no peace, that's the easy option to get what you want or to infiltrate.
Who was which country was Gaddafi from?
Libya. Yeah.
So that's also a failed state, right?
Yeah. And it was also foreign influence.
Yeah, but was it better before that? Before they took him down?
I've spoken to Libyans about this, and the thing is, the Libyans I spoke to actually regret the whole thing now, because according to what they said during Gaddafi's time there was free medicals and education, and there was, to a very large extent, stability too compared to now. But after Gaddafi, now everything is upside down. An average Libyan cannot live well, and it's also a place for pirates and like neo-slavery and things like that. A lot of Libyans want to flee from Libya.
Here's the weird thing. I don't understand because I've heard about it, that they had slave auctions, but
yeah.
I still don't. What does it mean to have a slave auction in the 21st century? In Europe, that will be called the job market, right? Isn't everybody a slave if they go for a paycheck?
Yeah, but there are different ways you can be treated. When it comes to, you can have a paycheck and still be struggling so much, but to an extent you have rights to freedom and rights to decisions and things like that.
Does it mean that they just take their passports away and stuff like that? In the sense that they cannot go anywhere?
And put them in very harsh situations. It's just like comparing some worker that receives paycheck to maybe a Jew during the Holocaust. Both of them can be slaves, but they are two different types of slaves.
Here's the thing. A lot of Indians, for instance, build buildings in Saudi Arabia, right? I think Human Rights Watch calls them slavery victims. They themselves call it a job opportunity.
Yeah, but
probably not all of the millions, but still, it's a dichotomy between some Human Rights Watch organization, because I guess you could definitely see some infringements upon some sanitary requirements and stuff like that, right? But it's a matter of, what should they otherwise do? Do not go for the option of getting some money, or because I don't know the situation in Libya at all. I'm just asking the question: Is it like some type of 17th century type of situation where they don't have any civil rights at all, which would be very interesting, because that would be, I think, that would be a reason to actually just go in with the army and that's it. I think so, because slavery is an international law violation, right? If it's real slavery, like the one they had several hundred years ago. If that's the case now, every other foreign nation has the legal rights to go in with their army.
The legal rights, but will they do it? Okay, they might have the legal rights to stop this, but the question is, will they stop it? there are people benefiting from these things. Who do you think are yeah?
But it's
Who
not
do you-
efficient. I mean, a job market where people can actually try to choose the best vocation is more efficient. Everybody knows that. We have the proof in the last, I don't know, 200 years
Yeah, but for example, there is even
since the
this.
Industrial Revolution.
There's even this wage gap between males and females, and how many people are doing things about that? There are a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
countries that
I don't
there are a
know
lot of
about that wage gap thing, because I've heard we even had some posters, I think a few years ago in the streets, but it's so weird because I think what they measured was average income per gender, which is not really the accurate measurement. The accurate measurement would be to take you, for instance, an electrical engineer, put you against another electrical engineer that's doing the same thing, right? And I think if that would be the case, that you would get less money, it would mean that other dude won't have a job because you are more economically viable, right? If you do the same thing for less money, every employer would want you.
Yeah, but we cannot remove the fact that this thing exists, the wage gap exists, and several people are talking about it, because this is not a matter of comparing just gender in a field or something like that. We're talking about for the same job, maybe for a restaurant job, for the same exact job, the male is being paid more than the female.
But how come that the other dudes still have jobs then? Because they cost more money to the employer.
No, females cost more money to the employer.
Why?
Because the argument is maternity leave, for example. And that's why in Germany, they're trying to balance that by giving paternity leave to a lot of...
I think well, not everybody, but
Not everybody.
I think almost all of the European Union countries have similar regulations when it comes to that. Maternity, paternity leave, and different types of what's it called? Vacations, I guess.
But job employers say that if they employ a guy, he can work for forever, but a lady, after she gets pregnant and after some months, she has to go on maternity leave, give birth, and she still has to be paid during that time because it's a paid leave. So for them, it's not profitable.
I think it's paid by the state from your social social insurance payments.
No, we're talking about now for countries that have put those laws together to try to balance the gender gap. I'm talking about other countries, like even in Africa, where it's not the government that is paying this. We're saying it's the employer paying the woman, even if she's on maternity leave.
Look at it this way: if that's the case, where an employer has to pay an absent employee, that sounds silly, because economically it just ruins you, right? You don't have an employee, but you still pay money. But I think
that is the argument. But in this
case, European Union is just the fact that let's say you are working in a job, the employer is paying you your salary and the taxes for you, right? And some of the taxes are the social security payments. So from those social security payments, once you leave for the absence, from those social security payments, the state pays basically the same salary amount to you, but it's not coming from the employer.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah.
And that's how they're trying to balance the wage gap, whereby you can still employ a female and not be scared that you're going to be paying maternity leave. But in countries where
I didn't know that there were countries where the employer had to pay.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
The maternity leave.
Exactly.
Yeah, it sounds unreasonable.
Yeah, so in that case, a lot of employers would prefer to employ a male to a female, and if they employ a female, they're going to employ her with a lower wage to balance it up.
And what happens if the female just requires the same amount?
Then she would not get the job.
Why?
Because it's
a bigger risk.
Yeah, it's bigger risk, and for that job, they would prefer to take a guy.
You know what would be funny if the employer would be a female, and she still would choose the male.
Then that should be on competence level, not gender level. That would be
Well, no.
silly.
I mean, if those same arguments as you mentioned about the risks and all things would come from a female employer, that would be funny.
Yeah, but that would be the HR, and HRs are not the owners of the company.
No. I mean, the regular, because I would assume there are women who are businesswomen, right?
Not assume they are.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. They employ females and males, right?
Yeah.
So they make also those decisions. Do I take the female with all the risks, or do I take the dude?
Yeah, we don't know, but I think that's why a lot of people are pushing for it to make the both men and women have equalities and equal rights to job and life and education and things like that. Yeah.
It's funny. To be honest. For me, I understand that most of the world doesn't live like the European Union. That's for sure, right? But to me, to hear that in, let's say, some German or American programs, many times just seems so silly. It sounds like almost like a invented problem just to have a problem to discuss.
No, these things are still happening even
No,
in
because
EU.
what I mean is, since the Soviet Union, let's say, for instance, in Latvia, and I think in most of the former Soviet republics as well, almost 2/3 of the management positions, as in some director or I don't know what you call it, supervisor, were female, because the dudes were either dead from war, either disabled from war, or just in heavy machinery type of work, or in the fields, or in the cooperatives and stuff like that, right? Or all those kind of things. So management, at least from the bureaucratic apparatus viewpoint, were mostly female. So it sounds silly, because I remember hearing in Germany they spoke about, maybe we should have some quota to have managerial positions divided equally between females and males. And so I was thinking, if that would happen in Latvia, for instance, we would have to fire a lot of women from their positions, because nowadays it's, I would say, not even 2/3, probably 80 or 90%.
Yeah, I saw like all the public transportations I went with, it was female drivers. Yeah.
Oh well, that that as well. But when it comes to the, let's say, government, state institutions, it's I would say at least 80%. The direct.
That's impressive. That's good.
Well, I don't know. It's just something I'm pretty familiar with, right? But I understand that it's not the case.
Yeah, it's not the ideal in a lot of countries.
But that's why it's so funny to me to hear some quotas or something like that, because that would mean we have to actually break down something. So, would you say that once you get your education, once you get your, let's say, Tesla employment going, would you be willing to go back to Nigeria?
Yes, I would want to go back to Nigeria and at least be able to see how I can improve the technology. Like I was saying before, technology-wise, we're not close to anything. We have some of the basic stuff, and they're still trying to transfer a lot of technology into Nigeria. But when it comes to every sector of Nigeria, we really have to improve it technology-wise. And I think as the role of an engineer, electrical engineer, I will be able to do more technologically, because most of the people they are putting there are people that have no knowledge about these things. And that's why they're just going to politics and embezzling the money, basically. So
sounds like a plan.
Yeah, so I have an idea of what it should look like, what an economy should look like, what a functioning country should look like, and I want my home to be like that.
Wait a second, are you saying that there are things that you say are not working?
That's why I said in different sectors, we have a long way to go technologically. For example, transportation, for example, where we just have a few trains. Like they're just even commissioning trains, like from Abuja Airport to Abuja Town or something like that.
Mhm.
And these are things that are like the norm in other countries, and we are seeing them just newly in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Like it was like a huge celebration when they commissioned the train.
But you mean like a new modern train, or just
New-
just a train?
Modern train.
Oh well,
Modern train.
we still in Latvia have trains from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, but we have some trains like that too, but the maintenance culture is very low. So like it's not really maintained well. So it's more like death traps, in my opinion. So that's just transportation, and even buses. We still have a lot to do with getting more buses, functioning ones, good ones. Like
By the way,
technologically, we have a long way to go.
are there any funny Nigerian TV clips? I was starting to think whether or not the one clip was from Nigeria.
The one with the long name, maybe.
The one I remember that as well. The one who said what's his name?
I don't even know how to pronounce it too. Maybe
Nigerian TV clip. No.
Nollywood.
But this is not Nigerian,
No.
right?
No, I think that's Ugandan.
So which is the funniest
I think you
African
type
country?
funniest.
Yeah.
That should be Nigeria. Like the comedy scene is like
But
the
where
biggest.
where are those dudes who are preachers and they show their disciples how to have sex?
I didn't hear about that.
I don't know where I've seen it, but there's definitely something that was in Africa where they showed some type of church where the priest was basically showing their that community how he makes love to his wife or something like that, right? No, but it was very endearing in a sense, right? Because
wow.
why wouldn't they teach something?
I didn't even see that clip.
But I don't know which country it was, because not to be too generalizing, but yeah, usually I don't distinguish between countries. Every time it's just Africa, right? Even though Africa is the biggest continent, right?
No, second biggest
Which
after Asia.
All right, Eurasia is the biggest for sure, yeah. But so either way, the African continent is basically in a generalized manner just a big country.
Yeah, and that's a lot the major problem, because a lot of people see Africa as one. And like I was saying, even in Nigeria, you cannot even stereotype a Nigerian. Like there's nothing like stereotypical Nigerian, because we're so diverse just as a country.
How diverse do you mean?
Imagine a country that speaks over 500 languages. How diverse
There
does it
should be
get?
dialects mostly, right?
They're not dialects. It's different. Like my own part is Yoruba, and we have dialects, and that is not part of the 500 languages.
So which would be the language then? The Yoruba?
Yoruba, yeah.
And that has several dialects.
And dialects, you just say the Yoruba, maybe Ondo dialect, for example. That is not a language. Ondo dialect or Oshun dialect or Ibadan dialect, something like that. That is still under Yoruba.
You know what the funny thing is, I think it was the case everywhere, but they just abandoned it. Because I remember in Germany it was the case, but they just forcefully introduced Hochdeutsch, and in France it was the case. All the regions had their own type of language, which led to, let's say, a northerner not understanding a southerner.
Yeah.
And so they forcefully just abandoned, well, the same with Chinese.
Yeah,
just make
exactly.
it Mandarin, and that's it. Everybody has to speak that,
Yeah.
understand it, which is pretty rational, right?
Yeah, but that's dialect. For example, I can
No, but it led really to the situation that without that, even though they are from the same country, they cannot speak with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Like even I don't understand, because in Yoruba we have the general Yoruba, which is the Ibadan dialect, and I can't even understand. Maybe for example, Ondo dialect. I've heard it before, and I could not make anything out of it. I could not understand anything. So yeah.
And probably Google Translate doesn't recognize it yet, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. No, Google Translate recognizes just the official Yoruba, which is the Ibadan dialect.
Okay. But if I would go to Nigeria, I'm good with English.
Yeah, basically. A lot of people speak English. Yeah.
I guess your education system is pretty similar then, right? 12 classes, university.
Yeah.
Man, I don't understand why we still keep that. Why not just have, let's say, 6 classes and then and get your graduate? Well, because didn't you feel, well, let's say, when you were 14, 15, weren't you ready to get a profession? And that's about it.
Maybe not 13, 14, maybe 16, 17 thereabout.
But our ancestors, for instance in Latvia, my grandmother had 6 classes. Didn't stop her from working or establishing some life.
Yeah, but maybe
it's just they just added it up.
Yeah.
Right? During the centuries, they just said, "Oh yeah, another class, another class." Now we are still, I think, adding, because there's sometimes debate that even 12 classes is not enough.
It's on
should have 13.
Some 13, yeah.
Yeah, it's just silly.
Yeah.
It's just silly.
Yeah.
It's a system based on the times when they drove horses, right? Nobody knew what a refrigerator was. And now we still.
But I think now it's maybe because of professionalism. That's why it keeps increasing. Because like, even if you study maybe engineering, for example, you still have to specify and then specify and then specify, because.
And you could do that already when you are 14, 15. Isn't it true?
Do you think?
Isn't it true?
But is the human mind formed enough to be able to specialize that early? In my opinion, I'm thinking maybe 16.
If you offer him the prospect of earnings, sure.
Yeah.
It's a matter of whether or not you have to make your own decisions and organize your life, right? Because if you would have the option to just stay comfortably up till, I don't know, 60 years old, you wouldn't get any profession, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just why bother with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I still don't understand. I think I might not heard anything from Nigeria that would be funny.
But I think you heard the full name stuff. The guy with the full name.
Well, if he was Nigerian...
that was one of the
But it
most
didn't
popular.
say in the clip, right? It was just...
yeah, but it's Nigerian.
How do you know?
It's Nigerian. That's an Edo guy.
You mean you recognize by the language he speaks?
Yeah, he's an Edo guy, and that's one of the states in Nigeria. Yeah.
I might just YouTube funny Nigerian. Let's see what comes up.
Maybe longest name or something like that. Yeah.
Funny Nigeria videos. Yeah, this one.
Mark. Yeah.
The funniest Nigerian. 2 minutes. Yeah, from all of these.
And the movie industry is it's the biggest in Africa, and that's the one that produces like comedy movies. Nollywood.
What? How do they?
Nollywood.
Nollywood.
Yeah.
Which is what? A place?
It's the film industry.
No.
It's just like Bollywood.
But wasn't it? The reason why they call it Bollywood was because there was a place with a B.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know the history behind Nollywood, but I just know it's like the Nigerian film industry.
But it's not related to a city with an N at the start.
Maybe Nigeria.
Alright, the capital is Niger, right?
No, the name of the country is Nigeria, so maybe from
that...
that...
No, what is the capital city?
Abuja.
Abuja? What?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a city called Niger?
A river, yes.
What?
Oh, Niger State. There is a city in the northern part. Niger. Yeah.
So that's the city?
Yeah.
But it's not a capital at all?
No. It's not.
What do you think?
No, it's not the capital.
What am I confusing here? Niger City.
This is another
the
country.
Republic.
Oh, this is a country above Nigeria.
But so that's a state.
Yeah, but there's a city in Nigeria called Niger too.
Okay.
Niger State. Yeah.
I think I meant the state. This is pretty big state.
Yeah, this is above Nigeria. We share borders with them on the northern part.
So this is Nigeria?
Yeah.
Ah. All right. So it's southwest central? What would we call a west central?
West
Central
Africa?
west?
I know we're part of West Africa.
Do you divide, let's say in Nigeria, do you divide regions by some stereotypes? Because that would be the proper thing to do, right? To just make fun of those east coasters or south.
Yeah, kind of. We have those kind of jokes.
So, which ones do you make fun about?
We say the southern part, that is the Yoruba part, that we like pepper too much.
You like pepper too much?
Spices.
Ah.
Yeah. We eat a lot of spices, like insanely much.
As in Indian level spices?
Probably more. Yeah. Like extremely spicy.
You mean like ghost pepper spicy?
Yeah.
Why?
And yeah, we just like it.
Because it's not for taste. Let's be honest, it's not for taste.
No, we're used to it, and we don't see it as anything. In fact, for us, if food doesn't contain pepper or it's not spicy, we consider it as not good food.
I would guess then what's the gastrointestinal health over there?
No,
do proctologists have a lot to do in Nigeria?
But the human body is very interesting that it quickly adapts, and that's why in different countries, like different body parts might have adapted to the living condition.
All right, one is the adaptation, but the other is the need to, right? Because nobody would try to drink acid just for the fun of it, right? Yeah, let's just adapt to acid drinking.
No, but the stomach is very acidic. It's way more acidic.
Well, but that's what I mean. Naturally, it has a certain environment, right? A certain pH. If you mess around with it too much, I think you just run into a lot of problems.
Yeah, well, extreme pepper. I don't think extreme pepper will mess it up, because HCl is like 1 to 2, pH of 1 to 2. Nothing beats that, really.
I don't think if the butt agrees with that.
Okay, yeah.
What's the health situation in Nigeria? Are there a lot of obese people?
No.
No?
Compared to America, no.
Well, it's not that bad in America anymore as well.
I think America still has the highest.
No, it's mostly the countries with the most oil. That's why I ask. Because once the oil money can buy a lot of KFC and McDonald's, the new generation comes up fatties.
I know. That's the opposite. It's countries like America that is. I think it's more of eating habits. Our meals are pretty. Our meals are pretty heavy. Yeah, I agree with that. We have meals like rice and some yam and cassava and plantain.
Oh, just as carbohydrates.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing heavy.
No, but portions too.
Yeah, but carbohydrates still.
Yeah, but the portions.
It's carbohydrates. We can eat a lot of carbohydrates, no problem.
Yeah, but like when you compare it to here, like the way I see people serving food, that was one of the cultural shocks for me, because like rice, and they just put rice in a small bowl and things like that, whereby rice is like in larger portions for us, or soup and stuff like that. It's in larger portions. So I think we eat more. That's what I noticed. Yeah, we tend to eat more.
You mean in volume?
Yeah.
But not in calories necessarily. Because rice, how much calories can it have?
Yeah, but other
Not that
things
much.
like yam and potatoes and
Still, it's
cassava.
carbohydrates. It's just a lot of water, right?
Yeah, but I think volumes are very different. Yeah, but
Don't you eat a lot of meat?
Yeah, we eat meat. We eat a lot of meat. Actually, meats are more like common compared to fish or other stuff. Yeah, mostly meats like cow meat and goat meat, because like in the northern part of Nigeria, they're mostly farmers
Mm-hmm.
and cattle rearers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where we get the meat from.
Yeah, sounds pretty traditional.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't think I've ever eaten a goat. I know it used to be the case that you could see and raise goats everywhere, but yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I haven't been in those times.
Yeah, they even sell it in the market, so it's pretty easy to get. You don't need to cut a goat yourself. You just go to the market and buy goat meat, and it's pretty delicious.
Yeah, I believe it. But yeah, the countries with the highest obesity are all those Kuwaiti, Yemen, all those.
Really?
And they are the ones with the highest diabetes as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's sort of related to America because they have a massive amount of American fast food chains.
Yeah, it's mostly fast foods that make people grow so fat.
By the way,
like that.
you know what I wanted to ask you? Are there any popular conspiracy theories in Nigeria?
Conspiracy theories like
I don't know, because I think many big countries usually develop popular conspiracy theories. For instance, I think Russians always try to blame Americans for everything that goes wrong.
I think we just blame the president for everything that goes wrong.
Well, yeah, I guess that would be an easy solution.
Yeah, exactly.
But doesn't Nigeria have anything fishy in its history? Let's say Americans have who killed the JFK, right? Like that.
Oh.
Did they go to the moon? What is an Area 51? What happened on 9/11? Right, all of those things. But those are American. Those are basically American conspiracy theories.
I'm not sure. I know Nigeria would have.
You know what was an African? I don't know about Nigeria, but it definitely was an African conspiracy theory about HIV and AIDS.
Oh yeah, but I think that is over exaggerated. I think that's over exaggerated because back to my point of saying that a lot of people generalize Africa. It's just like generalizing Europe. And Africa is way bigger than Europe.
Yes, it is.
So it's just like when you generalize that Europeans are this or Europeans are that. And I've met several people telling me Africans are this, Africans are that. And it might just be a country in Africa.
But here's the thing. There's definitely one applicable stereotype. Africans don't like cold weather.
It's very cold in South Africa and Botswana.
In South Africa?
Yeah, and Botswana. I have a friend from Botswana, and he was telling me
how much South Africa is European though, because they were colonized by Netherlands, right?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure of the exact percentage, but like it's pretty high.
Because Dutch people like ice skating.
I think that's why they went there. Yeah, I have a friend from Botswana, and he was telling me that the cold in Botswana it's so cold compared to some of the European countries he has been to. Like his ears freeze. That's what he told me. Like his ears freeze up.
Yeah, that's what hats are for.
But like, yeah, it gets cold in those kind of places, and they are used to it. So it's not the whole Africa still that is anti.
Well, Nigeria is so much in the middle. It just probably has only one season, right?
2.
Summer.
It's we have dry season
summer
and
a
rainy
little bit
season.
less summer.
We have dry season and rainy season. And rainy season is really rainy. Like I'm yet to see rain that is that heavy in any part of Europe I've been to.
Yeah, which is it? Which months?
It's from May to October, thereabouts. Yeah.
So solid 6 months of rain.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it can get pretty heavy, destroy stuffs. Yeah, the rains are pretty heavy because we have rainforest.
All over the territory, or just in particular regions?
Mostly the lower territory, because of rainforest. We have rainforest, and yeah.
Untouched rainforest. Do you
There's
have some primitive tribes who want to kill drones?
No, I've not heard of that yet. I'm not sure if they are pretty untouched, but I know, like, so of course some people are going there to get timber and things like that. So some people are destroying the rainforest. Yeah, but yeah, we still have rainforests. Yeah.
Well, you probably want to keep them, right?
Yeah, that's where we get the cocoa from. Like, cocoa is from the rainforest and some other tropical fruits or...
By the way, what about drugs? What are the most popular drugs?
I think it's going to be codeine. Yeah.
Really? Because that's a refined drug, right? It's a pharmacy.
Yes, exactly. And that's why, like, in a lot of pharmacies in Nigeria, you cannot just buy codeine. You cannot just buy cough syrup.
Yeah.
It has to be prescribed.
How the hell did that happen?
Yeah, because it was...
I thought maybe you just use some cannabis or some cocaine or something like that, but no, codeine.
Maybe because it's readily available. Like, you can buy it over the counter compared to you looking for maybe a drug dealer. So I think that was why a lot of people were, a lot of youths especially, were into codeine, because you could just walk into a pharmacy and just get it.
Is rap music popular in Nigeria?
Yeah, some.
So I guess you have Lil Wayne to blame then, right?
Yeah, so some Nigerian artists are into rap, but I think we're mostly into we have a genre called Afropop. Afropop.
I can't remember what was the musical style from Africa I liked, but it wasn't Afropop. It was
Afrotrap.
Can you name a few? Maybe I'll recognize it.
R&B, normal R&B.
Oh well, that's a global one.
Yeah.
But it was the one that had even a song named after it, Kudura or something like that.
Probably not from Nigeria. That's probably not from Nigeria.
Well, yeah, I know which country, but it was definitely some really upbeat, almost like Caribbean style dance music.
Okay. No.
I think it was Kudura or something like that.
I don't know.
Africa, Kudura. What comes up? Danza Kuduro. I think that was a...
The next big trend is what I call DSMC.
Or the name of the singer?
That was the name of the single, but I think that was also a name of the genre as well. And
Interesting.
I just don't know.
Digital social marketing consulting.
So... Yeah.
Okay.
Just a dance music.
First time.
But it's not Nigerian, you say.
No,
right?
it's not. It's not Nigerian. I have no idea where it's from, but I know it's not Nigerian.
Yeah, because again, it's me generalizing. I just thought, oh, look at that, African music.
Yeah, there are different types of African music, but yeah, I don't even know some of them. I don't know most of them because Nigerian music is the most popular, and that's what I listen to most of the time.
You mean in Africa?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Ask any African, they will tell you the same thing. Nigerian music is the most popular.
I could meet an Egyptian, I could meet a South African.
Yeah.
He would probably link to
Not probably,
Nigerian,
he would.
To Nigerian music.
Yeah.
That's a bold statement, young lady.
Yeah, really, because like in Poland, I have some African friends too, and when we vibe to African music, like their whole playlist is mostly Nigerian music, because that's the most popular. Like all the famous African musicians are Nigerians. Yeah. So basically, when you talk about,
because they are the most rich, right?
I don't know about that, but I think it also has to do with their style of music. People like their style of music.
It's Western, or it's something totally different?
It's R&B, but with the African vibe. And of course, the music is very good, but also because Nigeria has the population to make anything speed up. We're over 200 million people, so think about it. If Nigerians support an artist, that's at least, let's say, 150 million people listening to a musician. So
sounds a little bit too optimistic.
No, I'm saying, for example.
Yeah.
So in that case, when you compare it to maybe another African artist from maybe another country, which is definitely going to be less populated than Nigeria, they won't have that much fans, or they won't have that much backup to push the music. So I think what is helping Nigerian artists is because of the population we have to be able to move the music. For example, on YouTube, if a lot of Nigerians go and watch, and there are a lot of Nigerians in diaspora too. So I'm just talking about Nigerians at home, which is over 200 million. There are millions of Nigerians abroad too. So imagine people going on the internet and supporting an artist, blah blah blah. The person's automatically blown.
Would you say that the purchasing power of 200 million Nigerians would be equal to, let's say, 3 million Irish?
3 million Irish?
Yeah.
No, way more.
Really?
Yeah.
What would be the average salary in Nigeria in euros? Could you tell?
Average.
Well, yeah, just...
I don't know, because I never checked. I don't know, actually. I've never worked before. My family, I can't use that to compare.
Why?
The average.
Is you an aristocrat? Is you are an aristocrat?
No, but I can't use their pay to compare it to as the borderline for average, like the minimum wage. Yeah. But I know Nigerians are consumers, and that's why the richest guy is from there, because he's producing all the agricultural stuff, and Nigerians are buying it like crazy. Yeah.
Well, overall, it sounds that Nigeria is in a pretty good place, which is refreshing to me as a European to hear that in Africa a country is pretty prospering.
I think a lot of people have very negative stereotypes about African countries.
I wouldn't say negative, it's just that, yeah, you always just hear Africa has such disasters and such plagues and such civil wars. And just like, all right.
Exactly. But that brings me back to media, like Western media. Media, like the saying, good news is no news. And that's why...
It definitely stirs up more emotions if you have something negative or bad.
Yeah, but the West is the one controlling media, and it's...
why do you think so?
Because it is so.
But who's, for instance, controlling your media? Nobody really.
But our media is not international.
No, I mean your media, your personal media, what you consume. Nobody's really controlling it for you, right?
Yeah, but
you just control what you see yourself, right?
No, well, if you switch on the TV, you can't really control what you see when you...
Do you switch on the TV?
No, but I read news.
Yeah, but you choose what you read, right?
This is it. You can choose what you read, but it's not like there's a wide range of things to choose from. If you talk about news, for example, it's not like there are so many news channels that are international. If you want international news, you're either going to BBC or CNN or Al Jazeera.
Do you use any of them?
Yeah, I use their
See, I don't use any of them.
yeah, because you choose not to.
Yeah, that's what I meant. You probably could just
Yeah,
switch them off and
No, but why would I want to switch them off? I want to stay informed about things happening around me, and they are the ones that can provide that.
But you say that they are mostly reporting negative things.
Yeah, they're reporting negative things most of the time, but it's also a way to be aware of my environment, for example. They're reporting negative things, but I'm still conditioned to listen to these things because I need to know what is happening around me. But that doesn't mean it's true. For example,
very, very interesting.
For example, you know how many times America is releasing statements about different countries being unsafe, security warnings.
I think every country releases statements about that.
Yeah, but America does that so often, and it's usually when
I think well, maybe they publicize it more, but
more exactly.
But I mean, because they are the biggest economic powers. But yeah, I mean, every country usually with their foreign ministry publishes a list.
Yeah, but the American one is more popular, and they do it every time, and they do it every time, even when it might not be true, because
I don't know,
because usually most of these things are politically motivated.
What do you mean?
For example, if they have an issue with a country, the next thing is just to release a statement.
Well, let's be honest, Syria is not the best tourist choice right now.
I know, but I'm saying, for example, let's say Turkey. When America had issues with Turkey, they released a statement saying Turkey is unsafe. My point is this. That America keeps releasing statements that countries are not safe, but America is not the safest country either. In fact, America has the biggest issues that we can't even imagine. Like, I've spoken to a lot of Americans, and even they are not proud of the situations in their country. And the security in America is very, very low. But nobody's talking about this. They are concentrating on security issues in Africa. I'm more likely to get killed in America than in any African country, because the gun violence is so high. Every day, at least one person is being gunned down. But who is talking about this? They are focusing on any minute issue in an African country and blowing it up.
I think they're usually referring to gang violence as in gangs fighting with each other.
Gun violence. No.
But that will be the most related, right? Gangs.
Yeah, but not really. Guns. People, that's not the only things that cause gun violence in America.
Other than that, organized crime.
Just hatred for someone is causing gun violence, or hatred for a religion. There are several times that someone just comes out with a gun and blasts several.
Do you mean the mass shootings that are taking place in America?
Both mass shootings and the ones that are just personal stuff, like you hate your neighbor because he's Muslim, you gun him down. You hate your neighbor because he's black. I
don't think that's happening that much.
Oh, don't say that because you're not American. I've talked to black Americans. They are the ones that will tell you what is happening, and it's not just amongst black or white Americans. This is even police brutality.
That's what I mean. Usually it's more related to just some altercations, and that's it. And if you have let's say in London, it was more the case that since you don't have so lax gun laws, you cannot get so much guns, but you had knives. So in London they had knife problems. Mm-hmm. I think in Ireland it was just regular fist fighting, as is the tradition, right? But other than that, it's just people like to confront each other all over the place.
Now you're talking because of which brings me back to the whole stereotypical way of viewing things, Because we are made to believe that America is good, America is safe, America is blah blah blah, but the reality is totally different because of what they put out. What they put out is that America is a safe place, is the best in the world, blah blah blah, while Africa is the opposite. I've spoken to black Americans before, and you cannot really get these details from white Americans because, of course, how many problems do they face when it comes to racial issues or gun violence or police brutality? They don't face it. But because they don't face it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So you should talk to a black American about this and hear his perspective of living in America as a black person. Black Americans feel safer in Africa than in America.
All right, but they still live in America, right?
Because it's their country. America was built by black people. So?
I think they were by colonists. They were just colonists.
They were built by black people when black people were shipped to America and were working in the plantations.
New York was built by Dutch, Irish
people.
People.
Black people were working in plantations, and that was what gave America money to build the economy.
That was, you mean agriculture?
Yeah.
Yeah, but come on.
And
there's no real cotton industry in America anymore, right? This was, I see what you mean. Agriculture for a big chunk of history was the biggest economic of power. But once America switched to the Industrial Revolution...
So how do you think America got money?
I don't think American slaves worked on the railroads for the Vanderbilts, for instance.
I'm not talking about railways and all that. I'm saying, how did they get money to build the country?
To build the country. Once the first settlers settled in...
Which settlers exactly? The Europeans, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And killed all the Native Americans?
Well, not
almost all
of them.
Almost all?
Yeah.
And enslaved the Africans?
I don't know what you mean by enslaved the Africans. It was a workforce.
It was a workforce? Was it like the workforce right now where you just go to work, come back to your family, enjoy some time?
But here's the thing. It wasn't related to, at least for as far as I know.
So you call slavery workforce?
Yeah, because Latvia has had slavery when the Germans enslaved Latvians.
So you don't call the one
a German looks similar to a Latvian.
So you don't call the one in America slavery. You call it just workforce.
Well, we would call it but we call it slavery all over the world. It's not slavery in America and somewhere else, something else.
No, I'm saying the
Latvians were slaves to German. What would we call, not royalty, but sort of those people who don't work. They just organize the work for the lower class. Were
you also in ships? Were you also put together in ships and transported to other countries?
Well, once we got conquered in the 13th century, it was just several hundred years of ruling. Not really ships needed, right?
Did you have masters that will beat you up and hang you and rape you if you did something bad? So how is that compared to workforce?
Well, but that's what I mean. That was an economic system back in several hundred years ago. Right?
So I consider that as slavery.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Slavery is a generalized term. Slavery was happening in Eastern Europe, as it was happening in Central Europe, as it was happening in North America, as it was happening in South America.
And that's why I call it slavery too for Africans.
But that's what I mean. I'm saying slavery didn't build America, as slavery didn't build Europe, as slavery didn't build any of it. Slavery was just a form of work organization, and so work built countries. I know what you mean when you say...
No, but I think you should really read up about it.
I know what you mean when you say an oppressed class of people was the reason somebody else prospered. But if you say so, you would have to actually attribute that prosperity to all over the world. And it's not really related to any classes. It's just a minority rules over the majority. It's just history. It happened all over the world. I don't know of any place that didn't have that system. Asia had that system. I think, I don't know about the Near East. I don't know what they did. I think they were just nomads. Well, I'm not sure. I think the Near East might have been the exception because they didn't have anything. They were just tradesmen, intermediaries between the East and the West. But other than that, everywhere you had local settlers. Usually in Europe it was French, German conquerors, then British conquerors, of course. And in between you had Eastern conquerors, Mongols and stuff like that.
Can you browse later on about pictures about slavery, African slavery, and browse the one for Latvia or any other country in the world and see the difference? Or we can even check it right now.
Well, the difference would be your ships. Because
Your what?
Your ships, your mentioned ships.
That's not the only difference. Also in treatment.
I don't know, you mean that somewhere else a slave was more privileged than another place?
That's why I said you should check the pictures and read up on it. Because to me, there's a difference.
They didn't have pictures in the 17th century.
No, you can check up their stuff. There are...
Here's the thing where I think I know what you mean. Slavery was a part of, let's say, minorities in America not getting civil rights up until even the 20th century, the middle of the 20th century.
Until today.
That's the difference. Because once Latvia, for instance, established a country in 1918, we actually denationalized the German properties, and we actually gave, it was called land reform, or something like that. And so basically the people who didn't have a land, didn't have the economic means, they were sort of getting from the deprivatized property, so they had some acres to till. Is the word till?
Yeah, till.
Yeah. So yeah, but that was since we made the country. Yeah, a lot of Germans lost their property, right? And a lot of Germans repatriated to Germany because it wasn't necessarily safe for them. They were sort of the oppressors. And yeah, but it was always for Latvia since the Crusades. It was always.
And how about the Russian part? Because
but that's what I mean. Since the Crusades, you have 600 years of oppression for Latvians, right? Either German, either Scandinavian, either Polish, or Russian. Yeah. But see, that's the thing. At one point in time, they had no more efficient means of organizing labor. As silly as that sounds, it's just a way of, because look at it this way: nobody is getting up and thinking, I might make somebody else miserable today. But there are a lot of people who wake up and say, I don't want to do things, but I want I want some things being done, but not by me, and I'm willing to use physical force to ensure that those things get happening. Yes, those are. But see, that's the point. You had those people, then people understood what consequences that has, and then you had one world war, then you had Second World War, right? And now you are seeing a society where they just say, all right, it might be better to just have some economic freedoms, right? Have some human rights. The concept of a human right was actually something not really tangible up until 1970. So it's just a matter of, experience, I guess, overall, a societal experience. But yeah, when it comes to history and or the foundations of an economic society, it's just too broadly to say, some class was the reason. The reason was, that somebody usurped power, and then the majority, I guess you could say suffer. And then you have this type of society, which sort of becomes entrapped in a rat race, right? And so of course you don't have the same problems, and still people like to complain, right? It's a never-ending story when it comes to the ability to improve, and I guess that's where you come in, right? Because the designers and the engineers are the ones who actually, well, it's a funny story, because even though, let's say, a computer is supposed to ease work, technically it sort of created a lot more work for people, right? And I guess the stress level hasn't really decreased overall for many people. But then again, but when it comes to the Americans, as far as I understand, the biggest turning point was the Industrial Revolution. But it was the same for Europe as well. And I guess I think the British started the Industrial Revolution. I think the British started the Industrial Revolution, and then slowly, 18th century, it's just spread through Europe, America, well, North America at least. And then the 19th century was just everything was for grabs, because that was the first time in history where you had literally family dynasties making just ungodly sums of money, which wasn't the case beforehand. It wasn't even physically possible. But after that, so I would guess the biggest interesting point about America is that they have sort of a mixed relation, I guess, politically, because they want to be politically correct. That's sort of a stereotype of Americans. They want to be politically correct, but then again, you could say, well, but if you want to be so sensitive about things, why are you doing these things all over the world, right? But here's the thing, at least what my point of view is, what would be better? I mean, that's always the question. Should there be a one world police, right? And I'll say, of course, it's better than nobody having any say. It's not the best option in a theoretical model, but it's the best yet. Sort of like Churchill, what he said about democracy, right? The worst system except the others. So what I would like to see is actually Americans having a little bit of what would you call it, foreign experience? Because I think you could talk about it better. Just seeing foreign cultures, systems, and actually being able to, sort of filter out what seems reasonable and what seems just silly because it's a tradition or whatever. And I think America has that a lot. They have traditions where they don't know the need for it anymore, or the origin of it, right? So I would guess that's the American. But am I understanding correctly that you consider America, even though it has a lot to offer, it's being too involved in other countries?
Yeah,
politics?
Definitely. It's not just America. A lot of countries world powers are involved in the affairs of a lot of other countries.
Wouldn't you say it's just human relations in general? People like to trade with each other.
Trading is different from
cooperate with each other.
Like trading is like this, but when you're the boss of the other person, it's different.
But it's a power law.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So in that
But
case,
you don't like power laws.
No, in that case, I can't call it trading, like inter-trade between two countries. It's more like, I don't know the name for it, but it's not inter-trading for me.
So you don't like power laws at all?
No, I don't. I feel if every country should be sovereign, and every country should be the boss of themselves.
Isn't even possible?
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, this is good on theoretically, but of course it's not possible. Yeah, but that's it. Yeah, for example, when it comes to, which a lot of people don't know, including French people, France was built by Africans, by Africa. till today.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that the whole source of income and the GDP and the
Oh, you mean colonialism?
colonialism, until today, France still makes over $500 billion from Africa.
Come on, but they didn't colonize only Africa. They colonized what was for grabs.
Yeah,
The
but
Dutch,
I'm saying where
the
they're
Dutch,
making.
the French, the British.
They
colonized everything they could.
But are they getting colonial task from this country still? No.
What?
It's called colonial task.
What is it?
It's money that is being paid annually to France by African colonies, former French colonies. British is not paying that.
You mean? Wait a second. What are you saying? That France gets some money or pays some money?
Get some money.
Get some money from who?
After independence of former French colonies, African former French colonies, that was the deal. To get independence, they have to pay a certain amount of money to France every year. It's called colonial tax, yeah. And every year,
some residual income.
Yeah, exactly. That is the price of the independence.
Some business sense. Well,
so
yeah,
basically, presently, France is basically surviving on that. If it cools,
oh no! I mean, come on. France is an industrial country. They do have their own economy.
They do, but where is the money coming from?
If you ask me, it's coming probably from somewhere around 80 different sources. I mean, they have. I don't know if they have some nanotechnology, but other than that, I think they have all the types.
Yeah,
of
but for them to have
industries.
gotten to that stage, they needed to pump money into it. They're getting at least $500 billion from African colonies every year. Where else
you mean
would they?
Nowadays, in 2019?
Yes, browse it. Where will they get that from? Colonial tax. It's called colonial tax.
I've heard of such a principle of buying freedom, or independency. I've heard of that, but I think colonial tax was something in the 18th century. Yeah, it doesn't really.
No, maybe you should specify how much this
French colonial tax. Colonial tax.
Yeah, in Africa. Maybe in Africa, yeah.
Oh, 14 African nations forced to pay French colonial tax. That is interesting. So, French colonial tax was for the benefits of slavery and colonization. Did you know? Is for the benefits of slavery. Did you know many African countries continue to pay colonial tax to France since their independence till today? And they decided to get out of French colonial empire. What's happening?
It's, I think,
So, where does it say which countries? Number of coup? No.
No, those are the French colonies, and all of them pay.
That's not this. Number of coups in Africa.
No. Just the ex-French colonies.
This one? You mean this? No, this is the statistic. Yeah, it's not related to that. Below the main components of colonization continued back since. Man, it's a silly article. I just wanted to see a list.
Go up a bit. Go up. No, down. I mean down. Oh no, it went too far. No, I saw a place where they mentioned how much this country's pay. 500 billion, yeah.
It's such an evil system denounced by the European Union. France is not ready to move from that colonial system, which puts about 500 billion treasury years in note. So which countries are those?
All the French colonies.
No, but it should have just said which countries, and that's it.
Yeah, maybe in another article. This article is pretty long.
Yeah, it's just not that well. Alright, so what about the other one? Without Africa, France will have no history in the 21st century. François Mitterrand. damn. They don't list the countries. Oh, maybe here.
No, but the countries
14 African countries. So, alright, so who are the 14 then? Just list them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so here is
Nigeria was
Nigeria. And so what are the green ones?
That should be Niger, Chad, Cameroon, Gabon.
14 countries have that use currencies backed by the Treasury of France. Wait a second. I'm not an expert in international finance, but this article smacks of misinformation and conspiracy theory. What we do know is that there are 14 countries in Africa that use currencies backed by the Treasury of France. 12 of these countries are former colonies of France and 2 later adopted the CFA.
Oh, SEPA. Oh, yeah, it's actually France that is controlling the currency of French colonies till date.
It's a bad article, badly written, worse researched, and cites the history of the 1960s as its current news. France doesn't take $500 billion from its former colonies. It holds 50% of their cash reserves on their behalf. For France, it's a pretty small sum. The reserves aren't converted into French francs, they stay in CFA francs. Since the French franc does not exist, even as an accounting unit, it cannot devalue. The CFA franc exchange rate is fixed to the euro. Yeah, this sounds more believable. Because the currencies, yeah, that was the case for many of the countries, to just keep the currencies with their former colonists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the colonial tax sounds more interesting. Is the French colonial tax really a thing? No, you won't see an African president coming every year to pay the French president or bank a colonial tax, but you do have a whole system set up over 60 years which take a significant share in those countries' exports. What does that mean? Alright, so it's I guess it's something related to some CFA franc, whatever that is. Tax on exportation. Oh, anyway, I mean, yeah. I guess, well, what we can say is French people have still some influence.
Yeah.
But other than that, it doesn't seem like extortion. It just seems like the former logistics infrastructure still being used, and I guess the manager still profiting from, I don't know what that would mean, exporting probably customs, probably clearing, yeah, something like that, some international trade thing, I guess. What else would you use it? Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, so here you go. So that's a conspiracy, right? That will be popular.
Doesn't sound like conspiracy to me, it's a fact.
Well, a conspiracy would be a fact. A conspiracy theory would be an assumption, right?
Yeah.
So that would be a conspiracy that would be popular. Right?
Yeah.
All right. But is it only the French?
Yeah, it's just the French. The British is
And
not
would you say
taken.
that you don't like the French or government?
The thing is, I don't have anything against the French people, but of course, government stuff. Even the Nigerian government is not doing well, so it's not a matter of a particular government. It's governments of different countries have their own policies that might not favor the people, and that's when the problem comes in.
Do you know when they do favor? Because I think that's the real role of politics, to divide. Some because that would be sort of a, if at least in the party system. If you have a party system, it means you have different groups with different interests. Who gets to say gets to divide.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That gets the spoils. Other than that, what type of colonialism issues might come up?
I think that's it, basically. Yeah, that's it.
So, in a sense, that you would say that France, America would be they were sort of built on the backs of Africans?
Yeah, that's what I think.
And then what do you think nowadays about them? That they are still profiting from it?
Of course, Africa
But not
is
from Africa directly, right?
Africa is a continent that is very rich in mineral resources.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of countries don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to mineral resources, the phone you're using has raw materials that were taken from Africa. So
How come there's no conspiracy theory about Jews then? Or is there?
I don't know so much about Jews. Of course, if you speak to a Jew, they would have something to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. If you speak to a Jew, I know there are Jews here. They would have something to say about the Holocaust and maybe conspiracies and stuff like that. I don't know.
No, I mean when it comes to, let's say, the issues of former colonies, for instance. Why wouldn't the former colonies just say, "Oh yeah, it's the global conspiracy of the Jews. That's why we are not doing well." Because in Europe, that was the most popular argument. If a country is not doing well, it's because of the Jews.
Okay.
It was never, yeah, we didn't have time to develop, or we didn't have enough competence to actually use up this opportunity. It's just, it's just the Jews. It's the Jews.
Oh yeah, I heard something similar to that, because it was the Jews that were involved in businesses and things like that. Yeah.
Well, it's sort of, I guess, historically developed into it that way, that they found those vocations that were more related to trading and I guess banking, in a sense, banking. And then once you have global communication and international affairs, they just have the pole position in a sense. But I just don't know. To me personally, it just seems a little bit too easy, right? It's just too easy to say, yeah, those type of people are the reason why somebody or something is not doing well, right? It's just scapegoat, right? And so I know that even in Latvia, even though Latvia was not really that much related to Jews, other than maybe some trading routes and stuff like that, but not in a major way. Even in Latvia, there were many in between the wars, many people who actually, they founded organizations specifically for the purpose to get rid of this. They would call it probably some parasitic people, right? Who just leech onto the backs of hardworking Latvians, right? And those were the ultra nationalists, right? And then it was the same all over Europe, as far as I know. And then after the Second World War, it's a little bit changed. But then again, I think after the Second World War, Israel was developed. Israel was created, and I think the Arabs just took it a whole nother level after that, right? But it's always the Arabs can blame always the Jews still, right? And everybody has somebody. And I don't know about, for instance, the Chinese, but I think they blame the Japanese.
Really?
Yeah, because they were the former colony of Japan, right? And I don't know about Japan, because Japan would probably nowadays blame China.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a back and forth thing.
Yeah, because Japan could actually also try to blame America, but since the Second World War, America took over Japan, so technically, I guess not that much.
Yeah.
So, do you plan to go to America, even after all of this?
I don't know. I don't limit my
well, come
options.
on, you won't go to Antarctica, right?
Why not?
It's too cold. You don't like penguins.
Why not? If I have an opportunity to go, I will go there, see how it's like.
I see the point. If there comes an opportunity, but you are I guess engineers also work with probabilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you definitely see probabilities.
Yeah.
Where are the biggest chances of succeeding?
Yeah. Probably.
America or Britain?
Success is a very subjective word.
Well, I mean success according to your aims. If you say you would like to work for Mercedes or Tesla, for instance, there is only so much Tesla or Mercedes places, right?
But there are a lot of not a lot, but there are Asian countries that are also very good in tech. That's another place to also look at.
So you mentioned those two companies just for example?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
There is Hyundai, and Hyundai is none of that. Hyundai is an Asian company, so it's basically like I said, when you have an opportunity, for example, I can have an opportunity in Mercedes or Hyundai, and the benefit in Hyundai is better. Of course, as a normal human being, I will go for Hyundai. So for me, it's more about the opportunities and the job prospects and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and where I can learn and improve myself. Yeah.
Are you saying that you are looking actually for job safety as well?
Who doesn't?
I would wish that you wouldn't.
Everybody looks for job safety.
Mm.
That is the aim, actually, for looking for a job. Nobody wants to be in a job that in 2 months you're out of it, or in 1 month. So when it comes to jobs, I think that's one thing people take into consideration. Yeah.
Well, mostly, yes.
Yeah.
But if you would have a totally boring job, you wouldn't do it for long, right?
But a lot of people do. In fact, most people do jobs that are boring.
Yeah.
Most people don't like their jobs.
And I would assume you wouldn't like to be most people.
No, but see, there's one thing is, when it comes to jobs, most times it's not something fun because it's stressful. You can't compare jobs to traveling. The stress level
Traveling is also a job. If you
that's
ask
what I'm
me.
saying, but the stress level is different in a workplace compared to traveling.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to jobs, a lot of people don't like their jobs because the stress level is super high. It's very difficult to see someone that goes to work smiling or happy that he's going to work that day, something like that. Yeah.
Have you seen such people?
Not yet.
I think in creative art, yes. I think they're
maybe.
artistic people.
Yeah, maybe because
like
it's
what they
very
do.
flexible too.
Yeah, everything that's related to some, let's say, video, music, or just something creative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it can also get pretty stressful too.
Maybe for those who, let's say, do the editing or technical stuff. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But they are usually not the ones who create the stuff, right?
No, sometimes they're the ones that create the stuff, and they
You
just
mean like
need
YouTubers?
and they just need a face. Okay, YouTubers are different,
Why?
but what I'm saying is that YouTubers are different because they are the ones that create it. They might also be the ones doing the editing and every other thing.
Maybe. Yes, maybe.
In that case, it's still stressful. But if the YouTuber is just the face of the YouTube channel, for example, he doesn't really need to do anything, including creating the content. He has a team that is going to create the content for him.
Well, but he has to actually provide the content.
Exactly. But still, that doesn't make him the creative person behind it. So there might be a YouTuber, but the person is not creative enough because the team does everything. And
So what would be a YouTuber you follow?
Mostly just musicians. Their YouTube pages, like Nigerian musicians or international musicians.
Who is actually the most famous Nigerian?
Musician?
No, just a person. Celebrity or something like that.
That would probably be Davido. Yeah, he's a musician, and I think he's always Wizkid, and I think they're the most famous, both in Nigeria and internationally, because they do a lot of international collaborations. Yeah.
Davido?
Davido, yeah.
Like Danny DeVito?
Like David. but with an O.
Ah, all right.
Yeah, exactly. And Wizkid, yeah, I think they're the most famous.
Wizkid?
Wizkid, yeah.
Oh yeah, that dude I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're the most
But
famous.
he's probably living in America, right?
No, both of them are living in Nigeria. They have houses in America, and they go there often, but they live in Nigeria.
That's interesting. Yeah, Wizkid I've heard of some on some singles. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he did some collaborations with Drake and some other.
Yeah, that's why
International,
I heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah. The video too. Yeah, but that's it basically.
Any final?
Yeah.
Oh no! You know what? I didn't talk with you
What?
about India. But opinions on India.
India?
India. Yeah.
I've never been there before. I just know what I know about India is Bollywood. That is the perspective of India I see, and music, Indian music. And Indian food too. I've eaten Indian food sometimes. Because it's spicy and we like spicy, so so I like Indian food. So in India it's mostly Indian food and Indian movies. Bollywood is very, very popular in Nigeria. Very popular.
Really?
Yeah. It's
Why?
very, I don't know. Maybe marketing strategy too. But I think Bollywood is actually very popular in worldwide.
I think Bollywood is just some silly nonsense mostly.
No, they have some very
Just-
good movies.
What I imagine is just always some dude chasing a girl. That's it.
Yeah,
And dancing and singing.
Yeah, usually the concepts are like that, but I've watched some really good Bollywood movies like Three Idiots was very good.
It's probably a rip-off of the Three Stooges or something like that, right?
No, Three Idiots is actually good. I liked that one, and it had a storyline that was not about dancing and chasing a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some of their movies are good. I think the ones produced by, I can't remember the exact name of the guy, but something Khan. He's a movie director and actor. He was the one that produced Three Idiots too. I've watched like a couple of his movies, like Stars on Earth too. That was very good too. Why did you ask me about India?
For clickbait.
Oh, okay.
I'm just feeling out whether or not if you make a hashtag for India, whether or not that attracts India.
Okay.
Or
Yeah,
whether
and
it goes
population
to
is
some
huge
algorithm
there.
or something like that. Yeah, just for the fun of it.
Okay.
Because I remember one time I had an Indian guest, and in that episode he said that he knows of several YouTubers, for instance, who only specialize in sort of relating to Indian either culture, music, what have you, right? But even though they are not related to India themselves at all,
Wow.
right? It's almost like a strategy for them,
Yeah,
just
they
particularly
have the
create content
population
for
to-
Indians, right? So I like the idea because there are so many of them, and many of them speak English, so it sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
But it sounds like Nigeria would be a good place too.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to explain when I was talking about why African music is mostly Nigerian music. Because of the population. Just like India is over 2 billion people. They have the population, so it's easier for them to push things. Like YouTube, it's easy for, if someone is talking about India, it's easier to push that than someone talking about maybe
I guess it's different.
Britain, for
I guess it's different because I think Nigerians, when they go out into the world, they identify themselves as Indians. Oh no, sorry, as Nigerians. But Indians, I think don't really represent or identify themselves as Indians as much as with their social class or regional group, as far as I understand. Because it's just too big of a country.
Yeah.
As far as I understand, they have almost 30 countries. It's just all of them are called India.
Wow.
In a sense.
Wow.
Well, politics, right?
Yeah.
Because if you would ask them, they would probably like to be separate.
Yeah.
And just
that was how
split
Pakistan broke out. So.
I think the British just decided. I think I think Pakistan would have stayed with India. It's just that I think the British decided that it might be wiser to break off the Muslim part. And I guess it was an initial thought of breaking Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India, but Bangladesh wasn't there initially, and then afterwards they had some conflicts, and then Bangladesh got their own way. But yeah, if you ask me, everything that's related to British colonial politics in the 21st century becomes really, really silly, right? But those people who are living in those circumstances, they don't view it as silly, right? I mean, Pakistanis in Kashmir, they really have trouble with Indians, right? To me, in Latvia, it seems so silly, right? Because, it was a long time ago, let it go, move on, right? But then, they're just up till their ears in tradition, up till their ears in some upbringing, and it's just quite interesting to me to see, will it ever change? Because I'm guessing the internet should bring the total makeover of all these conflict regions, right? But up till now, I remember Pakistani being here, said, no, you don't understand. People are willing to die, right? So, for what? For dirt, right? Because they are brought up that way, right? And so and I told them it's not a good case for Islam-friendly politics, is it? Right? That those people are willing to die just for the ideology. Yeah, and then it seems to me that when the Libya situation, right? Because Gaddafi was sort of a partner, as far as I understand, with the West, and I guess something between them happened, and then he wasn't a partner that much anymore, and so we took him away. But rather than stay there as in Iraq and try to actually do more than just take the leader away, right? They just moved out and then basically created a vacuum, right? And then I guess that's sort of similar to what happened after the British left the Indian region, and I guess all the colonies. Because you could actually do it probably in a safe way, right? Just make a transition period where you still allowed them some, services to get from the former colonial power. But then once they say, we're ready, we established our own infrastructure, logistics, now the transition is over, right? But I guess what happened in colonial times was also just, all right, now up to you, right?
Yeah.
Because I've heard that about, I think, Madagascar. I think it was written in a book that Madagascar just had French colonists. Then after they had gone, their economy collapsed because they didn't know what to do. In a sense, it was too abrupt. And then, once they build up, it just takes several years. Something like that. All right. So I only got one conspiracy out of you.
That's the only one I know for real. I don't know much about conspiracy.
No aliens, no nothing?
Aliens, no.
Why? You have an engineering mind. You should be just calculating the probabilities that there should be some life forms out there.
Are you talking about conspiracies in Nigeria or generally?
No, just generally. What type of conspiracies or theories would be popular in Nigeria or the region of where Nigeria is? America controlling the world, it's a universal conspiracy. Then that's about it.
Yeah, I think I said it.
Colonial powers, superpowers controlling economic affairs. That's also a universal, actually.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked you. But no Jews. You don't have the Jews. Don't have any alien reptiles, right?
No.
See, it's pretty boring.
The only thing we're just living life, and the government is also just basically because conspiracy theorems are not. I don't think those are things about Nigeria, really. I don't know much about conspiracies of Nigeria. No. Those are the ones I know.
Are a lot of people in Nigeria superstitious?
Yeah, and religious too. Yeah.
Or what's the religion?
It's both Christianity and Islam. Yeah. Majority Islam.
Really?
I think 70%. I'm not sure of the exact figure, but I think more than 50%.
But it wasn't. So who brought you Islam?
Was
Not the British.
No, Arabs, of course.
When?
I don't know exactly what year, but it was that was how when the Arabs went through West Africa, different countries in West Africa.
I'm not sure.
Through trade.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but whether or not I had heard about that.
Through trade to.
Was it in the Middle
that.
Ages?
I know it was after colonialism. Yeah.
You mean in the 20th century?
Yeah, about it was after colonialism because after
that they brought Islam.
Yeah, it was not.
Damn.
It was Islam came to Nigeria after Christianity. Not before. It was first.
Well, the Christianity was brought by the colonialists.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
It was first African traditional.
But before the colonialists come, there was no Islam.
No. It was African traditional worship. Yeah. Then Christianity, and then Islam.
That was so interesting. Why would Islam come just right around the 20th century? What was the reason for that? Do they get some tax breaks?
Every religion is trying to get more converts.
Do they have some tax
there was trade.
benefits?
There was trade. There was so much trade between African countries.
Do you have some benefits if you are Islamic in Nigeria?
I think it's just the general benefits of maybe brotherhood, taking care of each other and stuff like that. I don't think they're giving money for converting. I'm not sure. I don't know because I'm not Muslim. But yeah, I don't think they're giving money to people for becoming Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there's the whole brotherhood stuff to take care of each other and to take care of new reverts, something like that. Yeah.
What about what's it called? Not the Jehovah's Witnesses, but the Mormons.
What?
The Mormons.
What's that? No, I've not heard about it.
The religious cult of in America. The Mormons. Really?
Nope.
Damn. So you're not that Western after all.
Nope.
Because it's a fairly, well, I guess it's from the 19th century religion.
Okay.
But you've heard of Scientology, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess that's not really popular in Nigeria at all.
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Just basically Christianity, Islam, and African traditional worship. Yeah.
I guess traditional worship just means the natural occurrences, right? Sun, moon, wind, fire.
And deity. Like paganism. It's what's the Western paganism. That's what I mean. It's just all over the same. Yeah, basically. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Except, I guess, there should be, here's another stereotype, right? In Nigeria, there should be a lot more music, right?
Music in?
For religion. For the original religion.
You mean Christianity and Islam?
No. For the original.
Music.
Yeah.
Maybe incantation, but not music. It's more of poetry. Yeah. Like the incantations are in poetry forms.
Okay.
But not music. I think music is more into the westernized religion like Christianity and Islam. Yeah. It's like
I thought it was quite a common practice for tribes to have those almost hypnotic drum beats and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's not African traditional worship.
What is it?
That one is just maybe some cultural elements of a society, maybe cultural festivities or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's different. For the worship, it's mostly incantations. It's incantations, basically. Yeah.
Cool. Any final thoughts? I'm just thinking. I guess we should wrap it up.
How long is it?
2 hours.
Oh my god! Wow. Wow, that's nice. Final thoughts on being in Nigeria. I like it, although there are a lot of ups and downs. I believe it's applicable to every country. Every country has undergone ups and downs in one point of history and come out of it. I just feel a lot of African countries, it's the turn of a lot of African countries to also make it out of the situation. Yeah, so I'm hopeful, basically.
Well, you're an optimist.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, why not? Sure. So, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Let me press a lot of stops.
It's automatically on YouTube right now?
Yeah, it was streaming